So this is the 23:30 hours GMT edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions. Now, the Sunday Times today, the London Sunday Times, today has the piece, the comment on page 14 by this repulsive, racist criminal, fascist liar, Rod Liddell. And the headline is, "No one wants to see a young mum without gas." But I'm not sure I want to pay her bill. Now, before going into the background, let's refer to the piece by a columnist on the Daily Mirror called Susie Boniface, who writes as Fleet Street Fox. And she wrote a piece about Laura Wynnum. Laura Wynnum is a 38-year-old woman who lay dead in her flat in Surrey, I think in Woking, for 4 years, almost 4 years. And during those 4 years, her body got mummified in similar way that the body of the woman called Lillian John Baptiste, who died in a flat in Canning Town in the London borough of Newham. Her body was found mummified. Another woman was found to have died and her death not discovered by relations or anyone. And her body was also found to have been mummified. Now, these are just 3 recent examples. Now, in her column, Susie Boniface makes a rare reference, which is absolutely correct. But it's a rare reference because although she does make kind of different type of approaches, Susie Boniface or Fleet Street Fox does not go on the record as saying things that she has said in this piece. Now let's get into this piece that Susie Boniface has published, and I'm accessing it from the Daily Mirror website. Now, this is Laura Wynnum died because millions of people decided it costs too much to be good. That is the caption. And the main heading to that piece It seems to have been posted on the 1st of February, which is 1330, first written on 27th of January when the first news came about her, Laura, and then updated at 7:40 on 1st of February. The headline is Laura Wynnum was left to die because disabled people aren't thought worth saving. Where have we heard that before? Asks Fleet Street Fox. Oh, yes, Nazi Germany. Just before the Holocaust began. And the piece, first paragraph, reads There seems to be an unwritten rule that only Jews should comment on the Holocaust. It's the world at It seems the world at large has decided the Holocaust was a Jewish thing, like Passover or Kippahs. It's their business. Let's stay out of it. Except that it wasn't, was it? It was a continent wide cauldron or brutality stirred up by almost everyone else. If anyone needs to talk about the Holocaust, it's those who let anti Semitism, anti migrant rhetoric, and otherism take root in normal everyday life. And what particularly needs to be talked about is that they didn't start with Jews, they started on people like you and me. 80 years after the atrocity, most of its survivors, perpetrators, and storytellers have died. The books and films have been done, and staff at the concentration camps that remain as memorials say in the past decade, awareness among younger people when they arrive is almost non existent. A bad thing happened, so let's move on. Hopefully, those visitors know more when they leave about the industrialization of slaughter and the fact that those who carried it out were ordinary people who saw nothing wrong with picking up a baby by the ankles, etc., etc. I don't want to read that rest of it. It is too much to read. Now, there is a picture of Laura which is only visible here on this item. I haven't seen this picture in any other outlet. And this makes her look like a young person. Laura Wynnum is believed to have died in November 2017. And Susie Boniface's piece continues. Laura was one of thousands of babies born with disabilities. She was deaf, had a heart condition, and something called golden hair syndrome. This is called golden hair because of the American doctor, a general practitioner called Maurice Golden Hair, discovered it. So, golden hair syndrome, which also affected her eyes and spine, and yet she still made it through school and university and earned a degree. What an achievement! I'm saying it, not Susie Boniface. But she struggled with mental health and developed schizophrenia. She heard voices telling her that her family wanted to kill her, so she rejected them. Loving her deeply, they kept the distance and trusted the authorities to get her help she needed. Now, that is not justifiable statement because this is a paraphrase of her sister's statement saying that they thought that the professionals should look after her. The professionals don't exist in Britain to look after people like Laura. So, continuing with Susie's piece, but she struggled with mental health. Laura was left to die. She lay on the floor of her council flat from 2017 until 2021, when her family decided to try again and persuaded police to break in. They found her mummified remains and a calendar on which she had scrawled, "I need help," 4 years earlier. It turned out the authorities had repeated warnings that Laura was struggling and was malnourished. They ignored the red flags and posted her a letter about food banks. When she didn't turn up to benefits meetings, they axed her disability benefit. When she didn't let in the gas man, they cut off her gas. For 2 years, and never wondered why she didn't need it. Laura was 38, capable, determined, but got a rough hand at birth. With only a little help, she would have been fine. She didn't get it because millions of people in this country believed the politicians when they said that the welfare system cost too much and voted for a decade of cutbacks. Laura and millions like her simply weren't worth saving. When the dodgy dealers who formed David Cameron's government were told in those early days that sort of rhetoric was rooted in bad things, they shouted it down. When they announced a need for reform to streamline benefits, we all knew it was to pay less to people who mattered less to them, not us. Laura was not a tax generating unit, but then neither is Nadim Zahawi, nor, I'm correcting the grammar there, Rishi Sunak's wife. Yet they are socially acceptable, whereas the Lauras of the world are considered best shuffled into a pile of paperwork, where an overstressed, underpaid public sector operative can lose track of them. Now, that is wrong of Susie Boniface because she's obviously writing that bit out of ignorance, complete ignorance about the overstressed and underpaid public sector operative. She has no idea in that piece as to just how corrupt and cruel and intentionally lacking in compassion these public sector operatives are. I shall talk about Newham after finishing reading the piece by Susie Boniface. Because despite the fact that I have detected some errors in her, it is worth reading and broadcasting into this broadcast. In 1930s Germany, likewise suffering economic crisis and blaming others for it, the Nazis began by saying the disabled cost too much. Now that is where the piece by Rod Liddell in the Sunday Times on page 14 of the Sunday Times of 5th of February 2023 comes in as reminiscent of the Nazis. They used eugenics, a belief that the human race could have its weaknesses weeded out, which is popular in the UK and the US as well, to promote the idea first of sterilizing the disabled so they didn't breed, then forcibly sterilizing them, then euthanasia, except that it was parents encouraged to put their own defective children forward for a deadly injection, and finally it became just plain murder. And there is a poster from the Nazi Germany. The Nazi poster from 1938 reads, and this is a translation, of course, 60,000 Reichsmark. This is what this person suffering from hereditary defects costs the community during his lifetime. Fellow citizens, it's like Rod Liddell echoing that poster. That is your money. Read A New People, the monthly magazine of the Office for Race Politics of the NSDAP, Nazi Party. The official name of the program was called Action T4, and I only know about it because after I developed epilepsy in my 30s and was Googling things, I fell down an internet wormhole and landed on a site which said that if the Nazis had got hold of me, I would have been sent to the gas chambers as well, along with those who had schizophrenia, Down syndrome, and dementia. No school told me, no person, no one until you tell them knows how the Holocaust began. Killing the disabled meant the Nazis had to find ways of killing others at once. Sorry, I'm reading this again because there is a visual fog in front of me. Killing the disabled meant the Nazis had to find ways of killing dozens at once. They invented a gas and herding people into sealed trucks. Then they had to find methods of disposal, and one step at a time, while the public was literally nominating members of their own families for a merciful release, they managed to manufacture death. Around 300,000 disabled were killed. Many were, like Laura, born with disabilities. And as 80% of the disabled people like me, that is Susie Boniface, developed a problem in later life, many would have been perfectly normal ones. From there, it was an any easy step to say 200,000 Roma, Traveler, and Sinti people should be exterminated. That 6 million Jews should be rounded up, that homosexuals should join them. And why not throw in trade unionists, Polish or Soviet prisoners of war, and any communists too? Imagine a trench dug today filled with bodies of Mick Lynch, Sam Smith, striking nurses, David Baddiel, a few Russian tennis players, the Zelensky family, Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe would be in there, along with Indiana Jones, Elton Jones, Gandhi, sorry, Gandalf, not Gandhi, Gandalf, Claire Balding, and Stephen Fry. And let's chuck in some disables. Opera singer Andrea Boccoli, actor Michael J. Fox. Oh, and Harry Potter again, because he has dyslexia as well as Judaism. That trench would not be acceptable to you, I hope. Not least because I would be in it as well. But if people don't point out that the Holocaust was who took it, who it took, and how it happened, then that trench is still out there, somewhere, waiting for you to fill it, and once and the spade of the other. And she goes on, and this is the. So let's be clear the Holocaust was not a Jewish thing, it is a you and me thing. People like you and me did it because, like you and me, were victims of it. And people like you and me are the ones who can stop it happening again. That's what Jews have been shouting about for the past 80 years. And there is no better time than Holocaust Memorial Day to point out they're right. We must remember it all and forever. I'm not Jewish, but I know that much. And so do you. So this is Susie Boniface writing a piece which, despite the fact that she has got some facts and perspectives wrong about the Council of Employees, is absolutely worth reading. So I'm going to put that on the Khoodeelaar Twitter account as I'm broadcasting. And this is where we shall be inserting it. So the narrative, the commentary that Susie has written is spot on. As I said, with the minor lack of connection with the actual behavior of local councils. So what is happening in the behavior of the local councils? Let's take the line that Susie Boniface has kind of referred to. I mean, what actually happens? She says that overworked and overstressed public servants, operatives, are doing their jobs and they're forgetting and losing track of the files and records and paperwork. Now, it's not intended as a response to Susie Boniface's reference, but it is part of the planned commentary that we were going to broadcast. The behavior of local councils, Woking, Surrey, and Newham Council, the behavior is not randomly or by accident erratic, careless, negligent. The behavior that can be workers in the mental health teams and even the police is is part of the agenda. It's part of the agenda that local councils are operating. Now, where does it come from? Where does that agenda come from? This is not an agenda that has been agreed by Parliament. This is not an agenda that has been owned up to by the, let's say, the last 13 years opposition members of Parliament. This is not even an agenda that has been admitted by the Conservative Party, that has been in post and power and the post since May 9, 2010. So where does it come from? As we have been saying, it's a part of the depravity, part of the depravity that has been instilled into the system, and it is being perpetuated and made worse by the day, because there is no forum, there is no credible, acceptable, moral kind of authority coming from any part of the society in this country, in the United Kingdom, that says anything about the treaties, the declarations that the United Kingdom has been signed up to. The difference between the Nazis 80 years ago and now, 80 years later, is that unlike the time of the Nazis, now there have been treaties to stop those things. It's not an emptiness. Susie has not mentioned any of that. And it's not just on this piece. Susie Boniface seems to have her own style. She doesn't recognize the international bodies that I have noticed. And that may be part of her conditioning or part of her conditions for remaining on the platform given by the Daily Mirror for her. Come to that when she appears on the Sky News doing the press preview, she doesn't really mention much of this. In fact, she doesn't mention any of these. Now, Susie is not just another journalist appearing on the television platforms, because she does make an effort to introduce something that is not just a mechanical kind of delivery. So why is Susie Boniface not talking about what Keir Starmer will be like? I mean, I know that she needs him to approve her campaign, etc., especially about the volunteers on the nuclear kind of test. But why not include his actual role in doing exactly what the Nazis did? Because just before Keir Starmer finished his 5 year stint as the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keir Starmer, introduced additional new hurdles to make it more difficult for disabled people and claimants to make claims against the policies of the DWP. There is absolutely no difference between Keir Starmer and the interpretation that Susie Boniface has put in her piece, updated on the 1st of February, of the Nazis' approach. She said that it doesn't happen all at once, it happens gradually. And I believe that Keir Starmer himself believes in eugenics, in effect, himself believes in the kind of reduction of people with disabilities to a level where they don't simply exist. And I've also noticed that it's not just Susie Boniface herself, the Daily Mirror and the others don't make a correlation, they don't make any comparison between the money that is supposed to be being saved by obstructing the disabled, the vulnerable, etc., from getting the basic needs met, and the billions of pounds being given to organized criminal gangs, otherwise known as the Conservative Party, and the donors. I mean, the money that they have been given, even during one particular period of the pandemic, would have served the needs, and more than that, of all the people in need, all the poor people in this country. And why is Rod Liddle being treated as if he is making a harmless thing? Rod Liddle, Piers Morgan, and Jeremy Clarkson, these are all making noises against the most vulnerable people and making racist noises. Susie Boniface doesn't talk about racism. And as I have said before, she doesn't talk about Churchill's role in the genocide of 3 million plus Bengalis in 1943 when he shifted the resources away from the empire and away from India. So we shall be stopping this one at 33 minutes at 03003 0004 minutes into Monday, the 6th of